Bernie, are you channeling smog over there?
Hmm? I just wanted to show people what free cash really looks like.
Wait a minute, it's neither free nor cash.
Right.
Right.
Just, we're getting ready for the budget, right? So, but
Well, you're looking good sitting on your hoard.
thank you. This is actually the back. This is the lower right corner of Paul's office.
Hopefully I didn't miss anyone. We have basically one agenda item today, and that is to review the draft that came out of our last discussion of the budget. And I believe when we did that draft together, we did not yet have a response from the school committee or the schools on our questions, and we got it just after
Kathy, do you want to do public comment?
yes, I do. Thank you.
Mhm.
So I just want to make sure everyone knows two things are in our packet and we'll be doing the review of the draft. I see what we have participants and our first order is always to open it up to public comment. And I see there is one hand up. So Melissa, if you can enable Martha to talk, that would be great.
I'm Martha Hanner from District 5. Thank you. The town manager's budget cuts Crest off of the knees. Despite its growing pains and restricted hours, Crest has showed the importance of unarmed responders. Craig's Doors and the homeless, the Survival Center, our BIPOC residents, businesses, troubled youth have all benefited significantly. With the new administration's war on immigrants and DEI, supporting Crest is a moral issue, not just a financial one. You are probably as outraged as I am by the lawlessness of ICE, snatching people away with no warning or recourse, even here in Amherst. We have many foreign-born residents, and they are scared. They're scared of any police that come. Do you feel that our town has any obligation to show support by providing unarmed responders that they can trust to call on if needed? I think that is the biggest question. The EAPS grant, now expiring, that funded the implementation manager was meant to help launch the CREST program with the expectation that the municipality would assume support for continuation. How likely are we to secure future grants if the agencies see that Amherst does not follow through on our commitment of support? Granted, press needs some robust discussion as to how to make it more effective. But if you are willing to risk 46 million for a nice library, surely you can allocate some funds from our very conservative reserves to keep CREST functioning and show our residents that the town council does care about the rights of all our residents and that Amherst is more than just a nice community of mostly white homeowners. So thank you for your consideration, and I hope that you will ponder then on the sort of the moral obligations for support. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. I don't see any other hands for public comment. So what I would like to propose is, and actually I'm not very good if I show it on the screen, of taking any changes people want to make. So Mandy, would you be willing to put it up, on the last draft up on the screen? Or we could have Melissa do it and ask Melissa to make the changes, or Bob, but basically it's easier for me to watch hands.
This one,
What-
right?
What I was about to say, this is more basically what we discussed last week, and I made a few changes in it because at that point, at the point we stopped, we had not yet heard back from the superintendent or the schools. Subsequent to that, we got quite a clear email that we shouldn't be expecting to hear any acknowledgement back from the schools on either the fact that it's on the elementary school, that it's a one-time amount that's being added to their budget, nor that this will not be on the FY27 base. So I did a minor rewording of where we had said we're waiting for that response. And other than that, I'm pretty sure everything is as we left it. So I would like to make a proposal to see if we can move along to actually voting on a final document. Last year, when we confronted how to address the fact that at that point it was the council asking the town manager to add money into the budget for the region, we drafted a letter that would be from the town council to the region. So I would like to propose that we do that again this year. And this time the audience would be the elementary school. And in that we would we would make the clear statement that the council is supporting this as proposed by the manager, the 4% on the base and the 1%, but we would like an acknowledgement and understanding that it's one time. And then I've started drafting the letter, and I'm happy to share an initial draft. I didn't send it to anyone because I wanted, literally, I was drafting it why I'm 3 minutes late. It's why I'm late, but I thought that might be a way out. And what we did last year was make one of our motions to draft such a letter. And we made it clear what we were going to draft the letter on. So we included a vote on the budget that included the pieces, but then a separate vote on drafting a letter that would be coming from the town council. So that was my proposed way of otherwise keeping the vote on the various financial orders clean. And I am not sure whether we can, in addition to that, on the financial order for the operating budget, whether we can, whether we can add one line, and Melissa can guide us, that this includes this 1% from cash. It's one-time money. The financial order document will show the source of that money, but the order, Melissa, I don't know whether the order makes it clear that this is one time, that it's coming out of cash reserve rather than being appropriated from.
So the order does, and so I wasn't able to attend last night's meeting, so I don't know what was discussed on the orders. I had drafted some things, but I don't know what finally went to you guys. And so the order that I had done had all the different sources of the appropriations in one order. I kind of got an email a few minutes before the meeting saying that there was this sort of discussion about, could it be separated? Do you think it's possible to, or do you think maybe what would make it better is to have it as a separate standalone order?
But nothing was discussed at the committee level, Melissa. I had asked Paul whether, it was something I thought of on the weekend, if we had the 4% in the overall budget and then a separate vote on appropriating 1% from cash reserves to go to the elementary school. So that was a question I had asked, and he said, he actually didn't respond. He said, I'll find out what people think about that. So I wasn't looking at the wording of a financial order. And I'm seeing Bernie's hand is up. So, I guess that's if that's an option, that's a possible option. I also thought it's important for us to draft a letter. Bernie.
Well, I was just looking at the version of this that you sent around, and I think what's on the screen now is the same. Page 9, the recommendation is that the 1% to the elementary school budget is contingent upon them, the elementary school, recognizing that this is a one-time appropriation. So I'm wondering how the idea of doing a separate order to add the 1% then just simply gives the council the opportunity to say no if they choose to follow this recommendation. I'm not clear on how much leeway the council has to amend an order when it's before it. It could simply be an amendment to take that 1% out. So I'm not sure if I'm not sure how to proceed at this point with this contingency.
So the paragraph Bernie's looking at right now, that I see Mandy's got her hand up, but that paragraph is from last week's discussion, and I didn't change it. So that was the strongest way of doing this. We didn't agree. That's why I said requires discussion.
Okay.
Because we're not going to be able, we know we're not going to get it from the schools. We've been told we're not going to get anything from the schools before the council sends them a letter. So I'm sorry if I've been a bit confusing. I just focused in on elementary. So I thought one way of taking that particular paragraph out would be to say, to make a motion to draft a letter, and the letter from the council would clearly make the statement and ask them to acknowledge it. So that's an alternative to this paragraph, Bernie. So I'm sorry I wasn't clear.
Okay, that's fine.
Mandy?
Yeah, this is hard having not actually seen the orders themselves in the language, but to I've I don't know what I'm thinking, but Bernie, if the order is similar to what the chart that's on the last page of the budget book looks like, then we can decrease that order by removing a number from free cash. So we could always decrease that whatever order number it is and remove it from free cash at the council, and this committee could recommend doing that. The problem is we haven't seen any of these orders yet in actual language. We only have numbers. So it's hard to vote on an order when we haven't seen the order. But we can't then create a new order. Paul has to provide us an order. So if we remove the free cash from that order, potentially we can't even, I don't know how it would be interpreted on the charter of whether we've sufficiently held a public forum on, on a free cash order if literally we're pulling it out of one and putting it in another number, right? But Paul would technically have to provide that to us and do it. Otherwise, we can't do it that night because we can't do it on our own. We can only do it at recommendation of Paul. And so without having seen orders or knowing whether he'd be willing to do that, it's hard to make a recommendation there. Kathy, your suggestion in some sense makes sense to me, yet I have concerns. The first is there enough time? Because this is where I came into this meeting and I still don't know what my recommendation is going to be. So I'm going to be really curious what everyone says, because I just don't, I haven't been comfortable with the responses we've gotten from the school. And so the letter makes sense, except I'm not sure I want to vote the free cash money before I'm sure that the schools and the council are on the same page, that it's one time, not in the base. And so is it possible to recommend that, and do we have time to recommend that the council on the 16th send that letter, but not vote a budget until the 29th? In hopes that there's a response back from the school committee between the 16th and the 29th. And then we can revisit what our recommendation is in the meeting. Like, this is where I am. I just don't, a letter is fine, but we saw last year, a letter is just a letter. And without actual acknowledgement, that doesn't put us all on the same page. And I really don't want to go through a budgeting process like we were at the region this year, next year with the elementary school, where we're fighting over what the base should be. And we're starting at different points. And so we can send the letter, but if they're not going to agree to it, or if all they're going to do is acknowledge that that's what the council says, but not also say, we accept that, acknowledging is different than accepting that. I don't know.
Okay, so let's hear from Melissa, and then I'll show you a draft of the letter I just was working on, Mandy, because I was asking for written confirmation they understand this and that we're going to go into next year with that as the understanding. But I want to hear from Melissa. I don't think we have the time to do that kind of two-step. So that's why I was instead saying, can we take a look at a draft and make the recommendation to the council that we send a strong letter asking for confirmation, but also understanding that they will be seeing the budget on the same level. And there's no way, in my personal opinion, once it's in the budget, next year will be next year, whatever else we have. So so I'm going to hear from Melissa, and maybe you have the draft order that we're not seeing, Melissa, because it will show this as a source. But I don't know what other words we can write into it. But making some part of it contingent, Bernie, the other language, that was the strong language we put in when we were drafting a couple weeks ago. And we've just never removed it because we probably have to, we're going to have to take a vote on this to move this along. Melissa?
So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, and maybe Holly can correct me, I don't see that there's a problem to separate the order. You know, like, cause I kind of had to force it to make it inside the overall appropriation. So it could be a separate vote. And I guess I was under the impression that you guys got the orders yesterday because I worked on them last week for that reason. So
Well,
anyway, so moving on.
Are they in the packet, Melissa? Because I don't always look at the
No,
packages.
I mean, I
They
thought
weren't
were
in
going
the
council.
document center packet. I'll check SharePoint.
No, but I didn't put anything in any of the packets because what I did was drafts because I thought they were going all to the council to be referred back to you like that. I misunderstood. So so then also oh, I guess I want to say that maybe we don't like it, but the school committee did respond.
No,
And-
they did. And I put their response here.
And that I know I put in the packet. So I think that there's no need to wait for a different response because I don't think they're going to change their minds. That's just, you know, that's
And
how
I-
I read it. So,
And so, Melissa, I mean, this is, this was the wording I added after our meeting that, however, the committee was informed by the chair of the school committee that they would only acknowledge this is one-time funding and will not be in the FY base if this is made explicit by the council. So that's what she said in her response. And she actually the wording was, we can acknowledge it. And so that is, I changed that from we're waiting for a response to we received a response. So, Mandy, Mandy has one proposal on the table, which is to make 1% hostage to hearing back something more affirmative. I am really uncomfortable. I'll just say I'm uncomfortable doing that. But we're a committee, so I'm willing to put anything to a vote on how we want to word this report in this section on our recommendation. And if you want, I can show my beginning draft of a letter was with the understanding, I thought the letter will be sent after the council has voted on the budget, and then the council would be sending this letter. So it's an after the fact letter, Mandy. It's not saying we're not going to do anything until until we hear from you. It doesn't say that right now. So I just want to make sure, you know, Bob, Andy, Bernie, Tom, Alicia, just on this one issue, because I think the one other thing is we've revised the wording on CRESS, both in the initial executive summary and in the back part. Alicia sent me wording that I merged into wording we already had. So we made our concerns about CRESS stronger, but within the confines of the budget, we are not in a position to increase a budget of any department. The charter doesn't let us do that. So we can call attention to the fact that this is going to be a difficult year going forward, and that CRESS, in fact, it needs to be supported in ways, in creative ways. So we've changed that wording. So I think those are the two pieces of this draft that are not totally finished. So do we want to take a vote? I guess right now, Mandy had suggested, and Bernie, I think way back when this was your suggestion of pulling it out and getting some confirmation about it. And you actually were stronger pulling it out and having the schools bill to it, but pulling it out of the general financial order. If we do that, and Melissa's just said we can vote on it separately, I'm still going to vote on it because I can't make it contingent on something. I have to either vote yes or no. But we can make the wording in our letter be stronger if the financial order can be this amount and a separate 269,804, whatever the exact number is from free cash. But I think your suggestion, Mandy, is to hold it hostage or to make it contingent. So
I don't know what my suggestion is. I'm trying to figure out what other people think, but yeah, so I don't know where I am.
okay, Bernie.
I'm channeling my inner cynic. I think there really is nothing keeping the school committee in the next fiscal year of asking for a 5% increase, a 6% increase, a 27% increase. I think we're all at the point right now where we're saying, okay, we're gonna cobble together an additional 1% for the elementary schools. We cobble together some additional money for the region, and we're not willing to go any further. In fact, we're not willing to repeat this next year with the elementary school 1% is. And I'm thinking at this point, we might be just best off to leave it at that, because we can get a response that says, okay, we acknowledge it, but that's fine. It's been acknowledged. And then next year, when budget season rolls around, lo and behold, it pops back up again and becomes grist for the mill. So
when I went through menopause, I was upset about what was happening to my hair. I started taking my hair.
Somebody's got the daytime TV on there.
I
On a cable
agree.
channel, no less. At any rate, you know. So I'm the most genuine and upfront thing would have been to simply say, no, we can't do it. We're not going to bend our policies.
Well, and there's, the council did vote on this. That's why the town managers put it in. And our understanding, the point we went up to 5 was that extra amount was bridge funding, because when the schools consolidated, there would be savings. And that's what I've drafted in this draft letter, if we want to do it. It wasn't that we just said, sure, here's 5%.
I understand that. I
Yeah,
understand that.
so
I'm just saying that, and I appreciate the debate, and I will. I'm sitting here feeling a great degree of futility around this, and I'm just wondering how much we want to, how far do we want to go with this? The council's made its point that this is temporary. This is one time only. You send them a letter saying it's one time only, and let's move on, because next year will be a whole nother round of this stuff.
So Bob, that's where I am right now, and I just wanted to add to the recommendation that we
Yeah.
want to send a letter. And we can either review the draft today or post meeting. Bob.
I agree with Bernie. I mean, we can write all we want to write, but next year the school committee is going to come back with whatever they think they want for the schools, and it won't matter whether it's in the base or it's not in the base. They're going to ask for a certain amount, and in the base is really just an accounting, and it's not what they're going to ask for. So, I mean, we've made it very clear that this is one-time funding. It's a bridge funding. We've made it very clear. They're going to ignore us, and they're going to come back with a number. And it's going to be more than, what we think we can, well, I don't know what it's going to be, but they're going to come back with a number, and they're going to say, that's what we need.
So my recommendation or suggestion based on these is we remove that paragraph Bernie found on page 9, and to the extent we say that later, and then go down to our recommendations. So I would just remove that entire paragraph, Mandy, the page 9 one. So we could just say the finance committee, recommends that the council send a letter. But or we just remove the whole thing, because I think we have said one time enough by page 9, that this becomes somewhat redundant. And I think, Randy, what you're doing is just deleting that period. Yeah.
I'm gonna type something in that I wonder if we should add another statement in this. It's up at the top, and I'm not sure how it's worded up there. One-time funding from free cash as bridge funding on the assumption that the consolidation, the opening of the new elementary school. I forget pull the wording from the top about that, the finance committee's assumption that there will be cost savings when the new elementary school opens. I don't know where that is.
But that makes sense to me. Yeah, I mean, if you just.
And just put that here about bridge funding again.
So just type that, you can just type that in and we can I will do a final edit on this just to make sure if we want to say exactly what we said above, or we can just rewording. Yep. Yeah, so we did it that, yeah. If you copy it in, you can edit it more easily. Yep. And you can do when the new school opens and we reduce the number of schools from 3 to 2 after the FY27. So that makes it more clear why we think it's not just that the new school is going to yield the savings, but we're just going to be running 2 schools. So if we go back up to the top on our recommendation and the votes we need to take today, I think I think the only change I was suggesting is to add one more, that we recommend that we send a letter, and we can see whether we want to do that. But in terms of what I just heard is these are our motions. We're approving, and we wrote in 4% plus one-time funding from free cash. We wrote that in. So we're voting on these 4 motions. That's correct. And what I don't know, Melissa, is if there is a separate thing on the aquatics program.
That's down here.
Yeah, it's there, but I don't know whether there's a number. So we just said motion to create we added it last week, but.
Yeah, there is a motion and a number, because I believe that it has to be capped at a spending amount. I mean, Holly, can you help me? I mean, I can share with them what I sent, but I thought that you had some suggested changes that were more in line with the program, especially around the aquatics one.
So if I may, yeah, I had just slightly reworded that, but it should be back in the folder. I apologize because I thought the orders were sent last week as well, either Friday or Monday morning. I thought the orders were submitted. We did work on those.
So they're all in that
Excuse me.
folder, and I can just send them to the committee?
I believe so.
Okay.
So with the aquatics, yes, there will be an order, because it's being governed by a different MGL, we have to vote it separately, and you have to put a cap on the spending. And I'm going to, just so that folks don't react when they see that. So the current, I believe the current aquatics budget is 117 or $127,000 of revenues and expenditures. What we have done is put that council order together with a cap of $250,000. It's not that we expect that they'll get there, but what we don't want to have to do is increase that cap every year if things go on. So we figured, double the spending is more than adequate for years of that fund to grow and be accepted with a cap of $250,000. So that's just the quick history on that. It is an order. It's just an order approving the creation of the rec revolving fund under the new law and just creating a cap for that. So if anybody has questions on that, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Thank you, Holly. So I guess the only thing
The
we're,
motion is 26-23.
okay, that was, thank you.
I just assigned it a number. 23, Melissa. Or Mandy Jo, whoever's
Is
typing.
it a council order or a financial order?
I don't know what.
Is it an appropriation and transfer order, or is it titled council order?
It's not an appropriation. I'm gonna have to look at it. I don't think it's actually an appropriation order. I think it's just a council order. I don't think it's necessary. Well, no, it has a cap on it, so I guess it would be a financial. I'll have to see how we worded it. I'm sorry. We've not done one of these in years, so I've got to make sure.
So when you're ready, Mandy. Whoops.
I'm just making some wording up here.
Yeah, no, that's okay. When you get through with that, I have wording to suggest on the letter.
Oh,
And-
that's what I was making up here.
Okay. Okay, do you want me to read you what I had drafted? Okay. To recommend that the town council send a letter to the school committee to make it clear that the 1% additional funding is one time and will not be included in the base for FY27, period. And that the letter would ask for an official acknowledgement by the school committee. So that was just my long-winded, what my motion would be. And then I did a draft, I started on a draft of a letter. Bob,
Yeah, I think we need the official acknowledgement needs to be very explicit. So we official acknowledgement from the Amherst School Committee that the 1% free cash is not to be included in the base for FY27. It sounds redundant, but they could just say, well, we'll just acknowledge that we received the letter and
Okay.
we've responded. Something to that effect. I mean, the my words are not very good, but
And Andy, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, no, I was just going to acknowledge something that was said before, and that is that the school committee is going to drive their budget request based upon what they perceive to be their need. And this will not affect it. We will, of course, by then have established and issued guidelines, which they will, I'm sure, adhere to strictly or not. And so I think that we're spending probably more time on this topic than is going to produce in results.
Yeah, no, I agree. The letter that I started to draft, and if we can get through this, I'll show it. Actually asked that we start meeting early, that we want to be as helpful as we can as they transition from 3 to 2, including be creative in the decisions about the 6th grade, to do it in a way that benefits the kids and doesn't incur unnecessary administrative costs. So I'm just going to put something more that we are actually really worried about this. Yeah, Mandy, in the
Yeah,
letter.
so I will endorse this motion on the letter when we get to it. The conversation has been very helpful for me. I think the purpose of this letter, I agree that the school committee next year will ask for whatever they believe they are, and they're going to pass whatever budget, no matter what the base is. This will, though, hopefully give a common agreement on when we're talking about percentage increases for year over year, what we're starting at. So that, you know, with the region this year, we wanted to start at one number, everyone else was starting at another. And then when you're talking about percentage year over year increases, that 4.81 was actually, from the council point of view, a lot higher, right? And so yeah, they're gonna ask, but if we're starting at the 4% from this year versus the 5%, that will change what the percentage is of the increase they're asking for next year on that. And I think being clear that this is the number that we're going to start that percentage increase at when we're talking about increases is a good thing and necessary for everyone to be on the same page when talking about, you know, is it a 4%, 4% budget, 5% budget, 8% budget, this? Well, the number we're starting from when we use those percentages is the 4% from this year, not the 5%. Because the free cash number is just not going to be in that number. It's not going to be in the projection tables anymore. So I think that the letter is necessary given the response we got from the school committee chair to, and I agree with Bob that the request for the acknowledgement needs to be very specific. I hope we start on the same page. That's my goal.
Right. And we can put those positive words in the letter. So Tom.
Thank you, Mandy, that you got me thinking about something. I share Bernie and Bob's cynicism a bit on how things will start out next year. I liked your comment that we be as clear as possible, and I wonder, is it overkill or is it possible to actually cite not just that, hey, we're starting next year with the 4%, not the 5% number, but maybe the dollar figure that is the base starting point. If it's in black and white, again, we're going to wrangle from that point on, but maybe we just nail it down if it's possible to.
Yeah, well, we have that because of the way they've divided it. If you want it, Mandy, it's, except this print is so small, but it's 28,049,236. That's the base without the 269. I mean, we can double check the numbers because I'm reading off the last page, and with my eyesight, I'm looking at numbers that are a little on the small side. So are we at a point, Andy expressed like we probably can't get much further on this, and we've now got a motion that's 5 lines long, which is an interesting kind of motion. We started to write the letter in the motion, but that's okay. You know, it makes it clear what our motion was on. Is there anything else to try to get to the point where voting and this is all listed as draft, that we can turn it into accept the edits? Is there anything else on these motions? Holly?
I just wanted to, so I have the draft of the full operating budget 26-04. Would you like me to pull it up and quickly review it with folks as how it's worded?
I would love to see that before we actually vote on these motions. Actually, each of these financial orders before we're saying, yes, we recommend this. I'd love to see the actual documents. So
So
I
maybe,
can stop sharing.
so maybe what we'll do is we'll see each motion. This has been my suggestion. Holly puts the motion up and then we take a vote on the motion. And we get to closure on the motions that have numbers, then we come back to this additional motion we're making about a letter. Is that work? Okay, so Holly, you get the floor, you get the share.
Let's see. Now I'm gonna try to blow it up as big as I can here so we can still read. Okay, so this is the draft motion for the full operating budget. So it has the total sum to be appropriated, what is the raise and appropriate, what is coming from the ambulance fund, what is coming from the town's portion of Comcast, the 75,000 from Comcast, 176,550 from the Community Preservation Act funds, sewer revenues, water revenues, solid waste revenues, and transportation fund revenues, and then transfer 269,704, which is the equivalent dollar amount of the additional 1% for the elementary school budget. And then it's as set forth in the table below. So that is the wording that goes along with this. And I believe these are all set, but we should probably do one more review. So I'm going to say they're still in draft form, but they should be pretty well set.
So what I'm just seeing is the way the free cash in the text reads is it doesn't say it's for the elementary school, but you look down at the table and you see that's where it's going. It's not like you say where the ambulance funds are going for ambulances, but you know, it's not like you say where those go either.
Right, they're to fund the entire operating budget, the whole pie, and then it gets split up. But like I said, the 269,704 is the exact equivalent of the 1%.
Right.
Is there anything below the table on this order?
It's just the
Okay.
the
I didn't
vote
know.
and then the
Okay.
sign. No, I'm sorry. Yep.
So are people comfortable with taking a vote on this is the big order? Yep, Mandy.
So I just, given the conversation today, it was illuminating. And like I said, I didn't know what I was going to do today. And so I'm fine voting on it. I just want to give a reason why I'm going to vote no. And it's because I don't have confidence that given the responses from the schools, that the 269,704 is bridge funding. And I can't vote to support violating our financial guidelines and using one-time funds when it's not clear that it is actually bridge funding. Despite everything we're doing, the responses I got from the schools during the meetings did not give me confidence that they actually believe they will be able to reduce their operating budget and see financial savings when the new school opens. And if I'm not confident that there is actually a reduction in their budget, I personally, I can't endorse using free cash to support the operating budget. So I'll be voting no on the financial order for that reason.
Melissa?
So one thing I noticed, Holly, is I got the wrong fiscal year appropriation, fiscal year of 2604. But I guess what I want to say out loud is that if you vote no on this, you're voting down the entire budget, which I don't think is your intent. So do you want to rather make an amendment to reduce by the free cash amount?
No,
Okay.
I'm making that statement here so that it somehow gets incorporated into this finance committee report as to what the objection was for.
Okay, so you were just
Um,
saying that here, not for like how you're gonna vote at the council. I was
Right.
just, you know,
And Melissa, I wrote down the words to explain what the vote was. I am going to be voting yes for this, but that was that to whatever extent there are no votes on this, it would be clear that the vote was the concern about the use of free cash and no certainty that there's any no certainty even that there will be savings in terms of the planning that's going on. So I really worry. Are there any other comments or discussion? Are we ready to vote?
Was there a second? Was there even a motion?
I'm
Here, I'll make the motion since I have it up on my screen.
okay.
Even though I already said what I'm gonna do. So the motion is to recommend that the council approve appropriation and transfer order FY 26-04, an order appropriating the town of Amherst operating budget for fiscal year 26.
Andy?
I'll second.
Okay, Hagner seconds. Okay.
Yeah, I guess that I just wanted some clarification in the wording as to in the major paragraph where the transfer from free cash appears.
It says transfer 269,704 from free cash. And then the table shows you
Okay.
when you scroll down in the fine print next to elementary school is where the 269,704 is.
I
So
don't know if
that's
are you able to see my mouse
Yeah, no, I
moving?
got it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
any other discussion, or are we ready to vote? Seeing nobody's hand up, then I will go around my screen to take a vote. Bob Hegner.
Aye.
Kathy Shane is a yes. Mandy?
No.
Andy?
Aye.
Elisha?
No.
Did you say no?
Yes, I did say no.
Okay. Bernie? You're gonna have to unmute.
I'll support, given the chair's statement that we'll have, the reluctance will be documented.
Tom?
I concur as well, similarly.
Elisha, I'm going to, when I write the report, I'm going to register, it passes. There's, of the counselors, 3 yeses and 2 nos, and both of the members supported. So Elisha, do you want to add anything? I have, what I'll do is, of the counselors who voted no, the reasons were the following or something. Do you want to say anything, or do you concur with what Mandy said? Or do you have another subject altogether? Anything you want? or do you want to just leave it that there were two people who said no, and one of them, the reason was?
Yeah, I think a lot of my concerns were already captured in sort of our write-up and in other places, so I'm not sure something additional needs to be said.
Okay.
But if you'd like to include that language, I can.
No,
Yes.
I don't need anything more. It's just when I write up the report, to the extent, as Melissa said, this is the whole budget, so two people saying no, what I have is, the lack of confidence that this 269 will be bridge funding, and also not confident that the schools are, that the plan is to achieve savings with the consolidation. That's what I'm going to be writing up as the main reason for at least one of the counselors saying no. We don't need to explain the votes. Andy?
Yeah, I don't want to put any thoughts, assume any reasons that Counselor Walker may have, but it, we all have to recognize that we have a few options as a council, according to the charter and state law on which the charter is based. And to the extent that we would like to have additional funding for some other purpose, we can't enlarge the budget. We can only reject the budget or reduce the budget or accept the budget. And so, those are our options. And so I don't know where to go with it, because I recognize that there are many places that we might like to see additional funding, but we have to realize that, and whether that triggers something somebody wants to say is a reason that they're voting no. I just wanted to point it out. So that's it.
Elisha?
Yes, thank you, Andy. That is a good point. And so I am just using the mechanism that I have as a counselor to not vote forward a budget, because I recognize that I cannot increase any item line or make a suggestion to do so. And so if there's something that I disagree with, that this is my option. And so I would like to utilize this option at that time, because I just absolutely cannot support a budget that freezes CRESS responders. And so I don't have the ability to say I want to see more money in this place, so I will vote no.
Okay, I will craft that wording as well, that there were two different reasons. So are we ready to move to the next order? I think yes. So we have a 3-2 with both resident members supporting. So the next order.
That one's 2605A, right?
So this is just so everyone understands, because there's a separate one. This is the cash part of the capital budget. We have another one that's for the authorization of debt. Do you want to read the motion wording, Mandy?
Sure. It's to recommend that the council approve appropriation and transfer order FY 2605A, an order appropriating funds for a portion of the Town of Amherst capital improvement program, equipment, buildings, and facilities for fiscal year 26.
Shane seconds. Is there any discussion of this?
Can I still have time to finish reading it?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Any discussion in terms of any questions? And while Mandy is reading it, I don't have the ability to pull up the capital plan that we've presented to everyone. So my assumption is this exactly matches the numbers that we've been seeing for FY26. In terms of, I understand they appear in different ways in when we list those.
Thanks for giving me the time. Oh, no, never mind.
So Kathy, I just wanted to say that these little cutouts of the raise and appropriate, those should match the numbers that are on the last page of the budget, which all balance to each part of the,
Okay,
so we use sort of the same format and the same,
okay, that's great. I know you were trying to get all the pieces to draw from the same database, which is very much appreciated. So any questions or further discussion on this before we vote? I'm not seeing any hands, so I will put it to a vote. Bob Hegner,
Aye.
Kathy is a yes. Mandy,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Tom Porter,
I concur.
Bernie,
Concur.
Alicia,
Yes.
and did I miss anyone? 1, 2, 3, and I did Andy, so we have 5 yeses. All it's unanimous. That's nice.
Next one's FY2606. 06A. Ooh.
Brad,
And-
hello.
And so this is the this is the other part of the capital budget that is the that is the debt authorization.
Just my top hat with my bottom half. You're
We
gonna
need
fight
you.
me on the pants.
Athena, you're not
Yes.
muted.
Athena, unmute. I mean mute.
Mute.
Remute.
Kathy, I think we said 1.2 million in the report, so we should check that number
Okay.
rather than 1.1 million for the radio system.
Yeah, I think we were looking at 1.1, but maybe
I think I read I read it as 1.2. Maybe I'm hallucinating.
I share Bob's recollection that it was, because I was the one that questioned why it went up.
1.2 because we had originally, so can we double? Well,
The report says 1.2 million.
Which, I'm sorry,
I
ask
thought-
which report?
Our draft finance report.
Yeah, I
Oh,
thought
okay,
I
okay.
thought the recommendation from JCPC was 1.1 million.
so
It-
we'll change, if the correct number is 1.1 and we have 1.2, we'll fix it. I think, I thought I pulled that from, I don't have the capital improvement plan in front of me, but
I'm gonna pull it up right now and I'll get it up on the screen. I'm
It's-
99% certain it was 1.1. It was 900,000 and 900,000. It was supposed to be 1.8 million, but then it was 900,000 and 1.1 million for a total of 2 million for the project. 900 voted last year and 1.1 potentially to be voted this year, if I remember correctly, but I'm trying to grab.
The CIP on page 8 says 1.1 million.
Yeah.
okay.
that's-
Okay, so it was just wrong. It's my typo, and I thought it was because the costs had gone up, but, well, it did go up because it was originally gonna be another 900. Okay, so we'll fix it in the body of the report. I'll fix it.
Being fixed as you speak.
Thank you. So any other discussion on this? And nice catch, Bob. And
Very much appreciated. We've
Well,
looked
I
at these
wanna get the
multiple
numbers
times.
right.
It's still find something.
Wait, can you put it back up, Holly? Sorry, I was doing
Oh.
stuff in the report here, so I didn't.
apologize. Yep.
I'm still working my way through it.
Just bear with me one sec here.
And I apologize for being slow.
No. I'm trying to be too fast.
Okay, thank you. We need a motion, don't we? To recommend, I move to recommend that the council approve appropriation and transfer order FY 26-06A, an order approving and authorizing borrowing to fund capital projects bond authorization.
Shane seconds. Now that we've made sure our own report is accurate, I'm ready. I think we're ready to put it to a vote. Bob Hegner,
Aye.
Kathy is a yes. Mandy,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Bernie,
Support.
Alicia.
Yes.
And did I call on everyone? I think so.
Yes.
All right, so it is unanimous. Thank you, and thank you, finance team, for double checking my, there it is, 1.1.
Yeah.
Pure typo on Kathy's part.
Yeah.
You would think I would have memorized that number.
Yeah, but so many numbers floating around.
And we have,
So what do you folks have listed next?
The next one's the revolving fund,
Okay.
and I think that's our last one then, right?
Yeah, other than the letter to
Right, but unless Holly's
terms
got
of
a,
the
a
motions.
financial order that we don't know about.
No, the only other thing is just the regional school budget ones, but I'm not sure if you guys
We
already
already passed.
you've
those.
already done the,
we sent that report in early and the council voted on them.
okay, that's what
So-
I
So we
that's what I
don't,
kind of
we
thought.
don't have to put them, we have fewer this year than last year because those were moved separately.
Okay, just bear with me because for some reason this one is not, oh, there we go. There it is. Now it opened.
I think and a half.
So it is called a financial order. So
An approval order.
an approval order, it's a new word. Okay.
We'll likely have this one just reviewed by legal counsel simply because we've not done one of these in the past and we want to make sure that we've included everything we need to include. As far as my impression at this point is it is simply this basic, but we'll have it reviewed. Again, this is a draft.
I'm taking small comfort knowing that the general laws have not been, remain as complicated as ever about revolving funds.
Yeah. By the 53E and 1/2.
Yes.
One wonders whether there will ever be the 1/4 or the 1/8.
3/4. Yes.
Don't
There is.
wonder that because there is.
Tom.
Maybe even even more de minimis. Is there a word missing following the colon in the first line, be it ordered?
Yeah.
To vote. Yeah, to
No,
vote.
we have it. This is how it's normally. It's just normally on a separate line.
Okay. Since it was no subject and uncapitalized. Okay, there. Maybe that's the way.
Any other discussion of this? It is,
There needs to be a period at the end of that sentence.
where are you putting the period, Mandy?
Oh, it was at the end of the year.
Yeah.
There wasn't one there.
So the entire thing is one sentence. Okay. It's all right.
It doesn't have to be pretty. It just got to get the job done.
Just for fun, you can take a space out between 1/2 and 2 in the second line.
That's
there.
right.
We could do this all day. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that to recommend that the council approval order number FY 26-23, an order creating a revolving fund for the aquatics program under MGL 44, section 53E and 1/2.
I'll second.
Okay.
I have a question before. Holly had said we had to put the cap in the motion.
Correct.
So I had after the 53E and 1/2 comma with a cap of $250,000 in total expenditures per year.
Okay, so I will amend my motion to read that as you just said.
Okay.
It's already
at
in
the
there.
end.
It's already
already-
there.
it's
It's in
already
the
there.
approval order, Holly.
Oh, you want it at the top?
No,
No,
it's,
no, no, no,
No,
you've
it's
already
just
got
not
it in the order.
you've got,
It's
it was
just
just,
you'd
we're
said the
amending our,
motion needed it too.
we're amending our motion.
Oh,
to
I'm
make
sorry.
it
Okay.
explicit
Yep.
that that's in it. Yep.
Yeah, you had indicated the motion the council needs to pass has to include it too, not just the order.
Well, I'm not sure if the motion does, but the
Oh,
order that gets voted has to have it. There has to be a cap in the order.
You don't need it in the motion.
You don't necessarily need it in your motion. You're just
okay.
making your recommendation to the town council to approve this one when it comes up.
So I'll take it out of the
Either way,
motion then.
it doesn't.
Okay, so we are either voting on the simple motion or we are voting on
Simple.
simple
There's a reason
motion.
why they call them revolving funds. You just go round and round and round and discuss it.
Okay, ready to vote? All right, Bob Hegner,
Aye.
Kathy Shane is a yes. Mandy,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Bernie,
Concur.
Tom,
Concur.
and Alicia.
Yes.
Okay, that is unanimous. So then we have the recommendation of the letter wording, and we need to, I think the other pieces is we should review the wording on CRES in the summary and in the main part of the document, which were the two main changes from last Thursday. So we have, Mandy, you'll accept all these edits, right? And then send it to me for a final read. So
Yep.
the motion is to recommend that council send a letter to the Amherst School Committee stating that the 1% additional funding from free cash for the elementary school budgets is one-time funding, and the base for the elementary school FY 27 is 28,449,000, and asking for an official acknowledgement from the Amherst School Committee that the free cash included in the elementary school budget is one-time funding and will not be included in the base for FY 27. The base will be, and then repeat that number, $28,049,236.
Second.
Are we ready to vote on this? And I have a draft report that says why we did this motion, and then I have the beginning of a draft letter that I'm conscious of the time, so I can send it to everyone after this meeting, and we can do group edits to me to see whether we can include a draft letter for 2 weeks from now, not quite 2 weeks from now. Are people ready to vote on this?
I'll just say I trust Kathy to draft a decent letter
Yeah, I agree.
to present to the council.
Okay, I'm going to say she's drafting a decent letter.
Not my best wording today.
That's okay. I take it under advisement.
It's the opposite, an indecent letter.
So what I've done is separated it out to be a committee report that we felt a letter was needed and say why. And then the draft letter is attached to that. So it's trying to get it down to a 2-page document. And then I'll write a cover piece for this report on, the issues that we were wrestling with. So the other so that was delegated to me, and I'll get that to you. Today is Tuesday. I'll get it to you maybe by tomorrow, but no later than Thursday. This is all for the council meeting 2 weeks from yesterday, so, but we need to get our report on the budget to them, I think tomorrow is the 30-day clock. So the letter piece doesn't have to go with us. We can just say we're doing it. So then, Mandy, if you can first scroll up to the expanded piece on Cress and then go to the Cress section. Okay. So this yellow was what we came up with last week as wording in the document. And then in the Cress section, there was an expanded discussion of Cress. So I yellow highlighted, just make sure that people are comfortable with, this is the executive summary, as we worded it last week. So I'm giving everyone a chance to read it. And then at the very end, and I think everything else is just, I'll fix the 1.2 and turn it into 1.1.
Oh, that's fixed. When we scroll down, I'll show you.
Okay. Oh, you fixed it already. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Andy has his hand up.
Yeah.
Okay, Andy, by the way, some of the other yellow highlights is we had to come there, and we've put the numbers in where there was something before. Yes, Andy.
I may have lost something. Did we vote on the motion regarding the letter?
Not yet.
No.
Oh, okay.
We made and seconded a motion, but we haven't voted yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, Andy. Go back to the motion. I'm jumping forward. I just hoped we were. Okay, I'm putting this motion to a vote. Bob.
Aye.
Kathy is a yes. Mandy.
Aye.
Andy.
Aye.
Tom.
Support.
And Bernie.
Support.
And Alicia.
Yes.
It is unanimous. Thank you very much for making me not jump. I typed that way too, I'm sorry to say. Okay, so there's this paragraph up at the top on Cress, and then there's a paragraph later in the document in what I sent to everyone at end of the day Thursday last week or Friday morning. So that yellow highlight, again, Mandy's taking it out. That was, were we going to vote that or not? But we did. Thanks, Mandy. So now can we go to the last? So just people raise their hand if there's something. The other. Okay, this was Mandy. Mandy, go back up there because this was Mandy and Kathy. Mandy thought it was unnecessary to show the charter and transit and other lines. It was enough just to make the statement that once you subtract the assessment, state aid is only up by a small amount. And I left this in probably because I put the table in. But anyway, I'm more than comfortable taking it out. I just thought the next that the charter assessment is a big part of the assessment. So I thought the detail was useful. So I'm just looking for other people's opinion rather than Kathy choosing to leave it in. Bernie? You're muted.
I would explain the charter school assessment just because it makes the I think I would leave it in, let people know what it is. The question that I had on the table was the other line where 0.416, 0.459, is that $416?
No, I think it's, I'm going to double check. I think it's 416K,
Yeah.
point.
Thousands.
It's in the hundreds of thousands. They're all in the millions. So
Okay.
it should add up to the total assessments. I took it off of DLS and I will double check that I didn't have a typo.
Because that point, the last line, the other line is a head scratcher.
Oh, well, it shouldn't be any change.
Well, there's also a change there too.
Yeah, no, I will double check these. I pulled them off and yeah, so if the numbers are right, that's the change, yeah.
Oh wait, no, 43.
I had to go to the cherry sheets for the detail.
Mhm.
Okay. Then,
Kathy.
So here's
yeah,
the
yeah,
change.
Tom,
Sorry to be nitpicky. It might be helpful in the table to write justify the figures so that
I will. Good,
thanks.
excellent idea. Done. There you go.
There we go. Thank you.
That's the problem with Word versus Excel. Excel assumes a number is flush. Thanks.
So here's the change in the capital,
Mhm.
fixing the number.
Okay, thank you.
So this now reads,
Why don't you just do accept change so we can read it more easily? Whoops.
we gotta go back to it.
I do have a question when we get to page 14, just so you know.
Okay. Yeah, I think that reads fine.
Number is misspelled
Yeah, number.
on the next to last line.
It's and I will do, a spell and everything, double check. This is hard to do always on the screen.
Yeah.
So Andy, you want us to move to, well,
When you get to 14, you're scrolling.
okay,
Is everyone good?
yep.
I'm just taking care of everything as we go. General government, Andy?
No, it's in the page 14, and it should be,
Oh.
it's public safety.
Okay.
So it may be renumbered.
Okay,
2.7
public
right,
safety,
right?
no, public safety is at the bottom here.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Stop for a second. Obviously, you need to get the paragraphing the way you wanted it, the first paragraph, but what's now a carryover paragraph, go down to, okay, stop. First of all, you need these needs to be corrected. That's a minor thing. The one sentence that I just wanted to point out to you is it says, as another example, the fire department has had to rely on-call and student firefighters to maintain minimum staffing, an option not available to police and CRES. It's a little bit difficult to figure out how to say this, but the fire department tries to use overtime as their primary, and they do use on-call or student firefighters as they are available either because of they have sufficient number of on-call. It's it's really limited.
So Andy, Mandy's about to say, in addition to overtime, the fire department.
I wrote this in, and I was just trying to capture the fact that they sometimes have to rely on the on-call and the student firefighters, and those options really aren't available to the other public safety. That was all. I understand what you're saying. I mean, yes, I agree that they primarily use overtime, but
So
sometimes they've had to.
maybe if you put a period after minimum staffing period, the latter options are not available to police and CRES.
Okay.
So the point was that the student and on-call force aren't, that's what this sentence was trying to say, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, they can all pay overtime. Well, if they have a budget for it, they can pay overtime. Yeah. Ladder, not Mandy, ladder, LA, double T. Does that fix the problem, Mandy?
I think it's sufficient for this purpose, because then further on we do give a more complete explanation of all of the departments, and I think that everything else is captured later.
Okay, then we'll continue scrolling. So this is, Alicia sent me additional wording that talked about that this is no small thing, that taking 2 responders out, and it's going to limit its ability, including if dispatch protocols are ever finalized, it's limited ability to take it. I have I can, it's my own thing. I think of impacted as only wisdom teeth. So have a significant impact. So that's fine. I had a dentist uncle who told me never to use it as a verb.
Well, the significant impact is fine, but with the clause here, CREST services will have a significant impact.
No. I agree with why you wanted to change it. I was just searching for another word. You fixed it.
Yeah.
So this was the additional, fewer staff could also lead to an overall, so it's trying to say this really cuts down on the program's ability to be effective. And if people are comfortable with that, we'll accept the edits.
I think these are good. These are good edits.
Then I think that's actually it.
I had one other thing, just technical.
No, it's fine. I'm just saying that I don't remember any other major sections that were. So we have now submitted that memo, and so I'll fill in the date, that we pulled out the whole discussion of water.
Yeah, just fill in the URL.
Yeah, I will. I'll fill it in.
And then.
And I fixed the listing of the membership, Bob.
So this is fine now. And then this appendix here, this doesn't have numbers in it. Do we need those, or can we just get rid of that sentence?
So this was, Bertie, you had quickly whipped out a sentence that we're ranked X among the Y all the districts in Massachusetts. I think it's better, I actually think it's better just to say, here's a bunch of towns and here's how we compared.
I would agree with that. I haven't gone back through the DESI data in a couple of years, so I'd have to go back and count again. And then there's
Yeah.
always the challenge, because if you've got like with the regional school, if you've got tech schools in there, tech schools are
Right. So we'll just remove that sentence.
We'll work on formatting this so
Yeah. Can you format
yeah,
that so we
and
don't?
then it'll take less space.
Yeah,
But I'll do that off of the
that's
main
fine.
one, because that could take some playing.
Gotten to the last page of our document.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe we need to take a vote that to submit this report. Andy?
Before I take a vote, did you just want to mention that you did not include anything about the FY 27 projections and what your thinking is on it, or?
We do.
Okay.
We say that FY
What's that?
20 section show we are running deficits.
Maybe we go back to that again. Because
Amherst budgets through FY 30 estimate deficits.
I was thinking about we had a language in there also about the sort of advisory that it's going to be a difficult year and you were going to make it a separate
Oh,
memo.
right. No, I mean, so yes, I just was trying to get through this report. So Andy,
Yeah,
Andy,
we deleted something, and I just want to make clear it was deleted from this document. That's all.
no, we didn't, not since last Thursday.
We did it after the Thursday meeting. You know, we talked about theirs last week, right? And then decided to delete it, and you were thinking about doing it as a separate document.
So Andy sent me a separate, longer document that is the Rocky Road Ahead statement. And I suggested it's longer and talks about more with lots of bullets about what's going to happen at the state level. And I thought it would be a good freestanding document on a warning to the public and everyone else on to expand this, because I worried that the ending is already a bit on the long side for an executive summary. So if we're comfortable with this.
You know, I agree, and I think actually this is a comment about the 26 budget, and it's really not a 26 subject, it's a 27. It would be our thoughts about 27, but it's not part of 26, which is what we're required to report within 30 days.
So I'll go back to, I will make a motion that the Finance Committee approve this report and other than minor edits, submit it to the council.
A second.
Is everyone ready for a vote? And as always, you will be copied on this. I mean, I'll just do as close a read as I'm capable of. So we have a motion and it's been seconded. Are we ready to vote?
No, I'm a little bit confused about Andy. Do you want to take that one section out on FY 27, or are you okay, comfortable leaving it in?
I think that it's really a lot shorter, and it is covering something that is in the budget book. I think it's okay to leave it there.
Okay.
We didn't get into the more expansive discussion. That's what was deleted and would be a separate document
Okay.
should the committee decide to do that.
Okay.
I mean, Bob, he had separately sent me a much longer version.
Right.
he
Andy and
pulled
I
it
talked
out-
about that.
And he
Yes.
pulled it out and made it a freestanding version, and I thought it's something we should be saying as strongly as we can, because what's happening federally and at the state level is going to be a big problem for all of
I
us.
agree. I agree. I just want to make sure I understood what Andy wanted with this document.
No, I just wanted to point it out, but it's done. I'm ready to vote. And
Right, then I am submitting the report to the council as revised to a vote. Bob Hegner,
Aye.
Kathy is a yes. Mandy,
Aye.
Andy,
aye.
Alicia,
Yes.
Bernie,
Concur.
and Tom.
I concur.
Unanimous. So I want to thank everyone, because this particular report, at least for me, was more difficult for all the right reasons. Each department we saw is talking about the pain and the stress they're feeling, and particular departments have gotten more public attention. So I think our report does a good job of saying more is going on throughout the municipal budget. It's not just the schools, it's all of us. So I want to thank everyone, because if people hadn't taken the lead in asking questions and then listening closely and writing sections, we wouldn't have this report. It is a true group effort. So I will, having been delegated to do a very, decent letter. I will do the letter and try to get it drafted and submit this by tomorrow. So we've met our 30-day timeline. I'm looking for any final, I'm going to do a very short finance committee report with the attached report, which just will indicate that do a little bit more explanation about Mandy has put the votes already in this document about the 2 noes, but we'll do an explanation of the 2 noes. That'll be the main thing, that we spent a long time on 2 topics. And so we're scheduled to meet 2 weeks from today. And I'm not sure yet what that agenda will be. But we're back on the first and third Tuesdays. So I will keep my eye out on what that might involve in terms of starting to look forward. Andy's piece, we might want to look at Andy's FY27 is they're not just a rocky road, it's more than a rocky road ahead. Strong statement. And anyone else in the committees can suggest something unless something comes up from the finance staff. We won't hold a meeting unless we have an agenda. So the one other thing I wanted to mention, because I hadn't seen it until Mandy dropped my attention, on March 8th, that packet has the 3rd quarter in it. So maybe what we might want to do is look at the 3rd quarter. The team did get it to us, not March 8th, May 8th, sorry, May 8th. It came in along with others. I think I've got the right date. I'll send you a precise, but we had the 3rd quarter report. So we should also take a look at that to anticipate that other eyes are also going to be looking at it on how we're running in terms of what their year might look like year end. Because as we know, we put that big piece of ARPA money into the operating budget to offset health insurance costs. So just that might be something we take a look at. So beyond that, I don't know the agenda right now. So I think I'll make a motion to adjourn if that makes sense to everyone.
Second.
All right. Putting adjournment to a vote. Bob.
Aye.
Kathy, yes. Mandy.
Yes.
Andy,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Bernie,
Yes.
Alicia.
Yes.
We are adjourned. And again, Holly and Melissa, thank you for staying with us,
Thanks.
including whipping up those financial orders so we could look at them and amending them in real time with periods or spacing. I can only imagine how stressful all of the spring has been for both of you, but also thank you for delivering us a budget.
Yeah, and I also wanted to add, Melissa, thank you for all that you've done for Amherst and for the Finance Committee. We're going to miss you greatly and wish you well when you get back fully engaged in your work at the university. Wish you weren't going, but wish you well.
Yes, here. Absolutely, Melissa. And hopefully you will sleep better at night and you will
We'll get some sleep at night.
get good sleep every night. So with that, we are adjourned at 3:39. Thank you, everyone.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.